Oh, hello there. I was just enjoying my coffee here and ruminating a little bit on a big question, and that is how long should you stay at your job? Now, as someone who has spent plenty of time in corporate America, I was at multiple companies throughout college and did a franchise and some big companies, high tech, biotech, Ernst and Young, huge accounting firm, about a couple years each. So around a decade I spent doing all this stuff. And if you're curious, if maybe you're struggling with this right now, trying to decide, do I move jobs? Has it been long enough? Or how can I maximize my time here? I think I can help you out here, okay? So first of all, let's just talk about the fact that the tenure of employees in America at jobs has been going down. And there actually has been a little bit of a spike up lately, at least according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And I think that's because companies are starting to respond to this. But still, with the whole attitude of the millennials and the trends that we see, a lot of people still predict this to continue downward. Okay, so why is this? And there's lots of potential reasons, but if you look at kind of the relationship between employers and employees over the past, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it's changed pretty drastically. I mean, there used to be, my dad is a great example. He has worked at Boeing for over 30 years here in the Seattle area. It's not like he praises everything about them, but he's been happy at the job. He's been happy with how he's been respected and the money he's made and all those things, right? Now, companies used to have these things called pensions. And if you want to get really technical, they used to have something called a defined benefit pension. And what that meant was I company, I employer, promise that if you work with us for such amount of time, then when you retire, we will pay you X every month or 2 weeks or whatever it was until you die, or for a certain number of years. They started changing these. But the point was, it was a pretty guaranteed benefit, retirement benefit. And of course you could say, well, what if the company goes bankrupt? Yes, there's that risk. But especially with some of these more concrete companies, there was a lot of stability, and an employee felt pretty comfortable by that promise. Okay? Then they started saying, oh man, we can't predict the future. We can't do this defined benefit anymore, but we'll give you a defined contribution pension, which means that we promise we'll contribute a certain amount each year or each paycheck, whatever you want to call it. And whatever that turns into in the future with interest rates and stock market and the fees for managing this probably, then you'll get something when you retire. And then just in general, pensions are kind of gone now, right? They don't exist. So this is kind of funny. Just a super quick aside, Social Security, right? This is like the government's pension plan. And Social Security is bankrupt. Social Security, I'm still paying money into, especially as an employer or self-employed myself. As a business, I pay both the employee and employer side. So I'm really psyched about spending over like 12% of my income on a bankrupt institution that by the time I retire, which I have no intention of doing, but whatever, when I reach that age, there won't be any money left for me. So that's just fantastic. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. So the other thing before I get into the specifics of how long you should stay at a company, I just want to talk about incentives. Never forget incentives. If you ask somebody how long you should stay at your company, keep in mind who they are and what their motives might be. If you ask your boss, he's going to say, oh man, you should stay indefinitely, right? This company is the best. You've got so much room for growth, etc., etc., etc. If you ask a headhunter, he's going to say, oh, you should quit your job tomorrow because there's this opportunity that's just amazing, right? The headhunter gets paid when he places you, and your boss, well, kind of gets paid for keeping you, right? And it's just less of a headache for him if he doesn't have to replace somebody. So always remember that. And, I've got my own opinions, so don't forget my motives, but I'm relatively impartial on here. I actually don't know you yet. I'd like to meet you. So keep that in mind, all right? But one big piece of advice, here's the nitty gritty here. One big piece of advice I have for you is that if you can find, if you've found that for whatever reason your current position is not, you're not learning enough, you don't feel valued enough or appreciated, you don't, you're just maybe you're not even respected in your department, like whatever it is. If you can find what you want in your company, just in a different position, maybe a different department, whatever it is, that is a great option, because even though the loyalty between the employee and the employer has kind of downgraded a little bit, if you can retain that tenure at a company, you really can learn a lot more about the ins and outs of that industry, that specific company, people in it. You can really build your clout, kind of. And if you're able to get the experience that you want in a different area, then that can be extremely valuable, okay? The other huge piece of advice I have, and this comes from my dad, a man far wiser than myself. He said, look for a job while you have a job, okay? Don't just quit your job and then go looking, or realize you only saved up enough for 1 month and then you have to go looking for a job and you're desperate. It'll come across, okay? If you go into an employer currently with a position at a job, then the position you're in is completely different. You're basically saying, or you can basically have any reason you want, but you're going to say, oh, yeah, I'm doing great at company A, and I'm just here because I heard of this fantastic opportunity. I love your company specifically. The commute's going to be better, whatever it is, right? Whatever your reason, it's going to come across in a better light. And that being said, I will specifically say this. Do not speak ill of your previous company, your previous employer, or I guess I should say your current one, if you're interviewing while you have a job. It just doesn't come across well. Think about that person who comes into your office, or maybe it's a friend, whatever, and they're always gossiping or talking shit about somebody else. And all you can think about is, when they're not around me and maybe they're talking with this other person, they're probably talking shit about me, right? Because that's just who they are. That's just what they do. Same thing goes for the employer. If you start complaining about your past employer and like, oh my God, I'm not respected, I get treated so poorly, I don't make enough money, they're just going to be like, oh, this person is just another needy, maybe a millennial, another needy person who is going to be trouble from the start. We're not going to be able to make them happy, and they're going to be leaving here in another 6 months to a year or whatever. So don't do that. Just talk about the positives of the opportunity in front of you. Okay. And last but not least, I wanted to make this video pretty quick so I can get back to my coffee here. If you find, like I found, that it's not necessarily the job you're in, the specifics you're learning, and you need to move to another company, because a lot of times you can't find a position within your company, especially if you work at smaller companies. So you kind of need to move to another company to keep learning. If you find, like I did, that it wasn't that I wasn't learning the right things, it's that I was learning way too specific of things in a specific area. I was becoming a CPA, accounting, corporate accounting guru, and that's crap that I don't really care about, that impacts a very small segment of my company, and frankly in kind of a way that it didn't give me that much satisfaction. And really what I was looking for was more direct impact on people that I could work with, that I could see, that I could talk to, and that I could share in their success. Now, if that's something that you find, maybe you want to broaden your knowledge, learn a bit more of a general sense of things, of how to run a business so that you can work with people who do the specifics, then maybe you're not looking for another job. Maybe you're looking to run your own business. And if that's the case, that's what my business helps people with. So If you want to check out some of the more specifics on this, go to my blog. I'll leave a link. And also, there is an entire other post about something similar to this. I'll link to that as well. So any way I can help other than that, please comment below, hit me up, and I'll see what I can do. Till then, see you guys next time.